The world's attention is fixed on a rusting World War II-era ship, the BRP Sierra Madre, grounded on a remote reef in the South China Sea. More than a shipwreck, it's a sovereign outpost, home to a handful of Filipino Marines who stand as a living claim to the Second Thomas Shoal, or Ayungin Shoal. This is a David and Goliath struggle, not just a territorial dispute. The Sierra Madre sits within the Philippines' exclusive economic zone, a fact backed by international law. Yet, China claims nearly the entire South China Sea, dismissing a 2016 International Tribunal ruling. The ship is a symbol of defiance, a physical rebuke to China's sweeping claims. Filipino Marines aboard live in constant alert, surrounded by Chinese Coast Guard vessels and drones. Their mission: hold the line, no matter the odds. The psychological and physical isolation is immense, but their presence is a testament to national will. Tensions are rising, China's tactics have grown more aggressive, and the world's major powers are no longer just watching. The United States and its allies see the standoff as a test for the future of global security. The fate of the Sierra Madre is now tied to the stability of the entire Indo-Pacific. Every day, the Marines' resolve is tested by the shadow of Chinese ships circling like sharks. The world is watching to see who blinks first. The Sierra Madre is more than a ship. It's a front line in the battle for a rules-based international order. Its continued presence is a daily reminder that sovereignty is defended not by the size of a navy, but by the courage of those who stand their ground. The stakes are immense, and the outcome will echo far beyond these contested waters. In this high-stakes standoff, the rusting Sentinel endures. Each supply run to the Sierra Madre is a high-risk mission. Filipino Coast Guard and civilian crews navigate a gauntlet of Chinese ships to deliver food, water, and medicine. Chinese vessels shadow and harass them, performing dangerous maneuvers and blasting air horns to intimidate. As they approach the shoal, the threat escalates. Chinese ships unleash powerful water cannons, shattering windows and injuring crew. Despite the danger, Filipino sailors press on, knowing their mission is vital. These are ordinary people, thrust into extraordinary circumstances, facing physical harm and the stress of international scrutiny. Their shaky phone footage of harassment has become powerful evidence, rallying global support. The supply runs are no longer routine, they're acts of public diplomacy and defiance. Each journey is a statement: the Philippines will not be bullied into surrendering its claim. The psychological toll is heavy, but the resolve of these crews is unwavering. Their courage keeps the Sierra Madre supplied, and the Philippine flag flying. The world sees their struggle, and it's impossible to ignore the human cost of China's expansion. These supply runs have become a symbol of quiet heroism. The battle for Ayungin Shoal is fought not just by Marines, but by every sailor who braves the blockade. In the face of overwhelming odds, they refuse to turn back. In 2016, an international tribunal at The Hague delivered a decisive victory for the Philippines, invalidating China's sweeping 9-line claim. The ruling affirmed that Second Thomas Shoal lies within the Philippines' exclusive economic zone. Under international law, the Philippines has exclusive rights to these waters. China, however, rejected the decision outright, calling it scrap paper. This defiance isn't just a snub to Manila, it's a challenge to the global legal order. For the Philippines, the ruling is a cornerstone of sovereignty and a diplomatic tool to rally support. The dispute is no longer just about territory, it's about defending international law itself. By holding the Sierra Madre, the Philippines enforces the tribunal's decision on the water. China's attempts to dislodge the outpost are attempts to erase the ruling through force. The world understands the stakes. If China can ignore a binding legal ruling here, it sets a dangerous precedent everywhere. The standoff is a test of whether rules or raw power will shape the future of the seas. The outcome will define the credibility of international law for years to come. The BRP Sierra Madre, battered and rusting, has become a powerful symbol of Filipino resistance. Its presence at Ayungin Shoal is a daily act of defiance against China's sweeping claims. The Marines aboard endure hardship and isolation, embodying national pride and sovereignty. Images of the ship, flag flying against a backdrop of Chinese vessels, have ignited patriotism and become rallying cries on social media. For China, the ship is a constant irritant, a visible obstacle to its ambitions. Beijing demands its removal, but Manila stands firm, denying any promise to withdraw. The Sierra Madre's existence refutes China's narrative of undisputed control. International media have seized on the story, framing it as a classic underdog struggle. The ship's lonely stand has galvanized global opinion in favor of the Philippines. It puts a human face on the abstract principles of international law. The Sierra Madre is no longer just a ship. It's a national treasure, and a symbol the world can't ignore. Its saga has transformed a distant dispute into a dramatic story of survival and courage. The South China Sea is no longer a distant problem for the West. Escalating aggression at Second Thomas Shoal has forced global powers to act. The threat to global trade is real. 1/3 of maritime commerce passes through these waters. China's attempts to control this vital corridor endanger the world economy. Beyond economics, the principle of freedom of navigation is at stake. China's blockades and militarized islands challenge this fundamental right. The US, UK, and other powers now see defending these waters as essential to global security. What was once muted concern is now firm support for the Philippines. The world is picking sides, and increasingly, it stands with Manila. The South China Sea has become a front line in the defense of a rules-based order. NATO's leading members, especially the US, UK, France, and Germany, are stepping up in the South China Sea. Instability here threatens their own security and prosperity. The US, bound by a mutual defense treaty, has made clear that an attack on Philippine forces could trigger its commitments. Joint patrols and increased military presence back up these words. European powers have sent naval vessels to the region, signaling solidarity and a commitment to a rules-based maritime order. Strong diplomatic statements from Europe and the US condemn China's coercive actions. The message, the principles at stake, are universal. If China can ignore international law here, the whole system is weakened. By supporting the Philippines, NATO heavyweights defend the architecture of global peace. They're investing in a future where rules, not force, govern international relations. The world is watching, and the stakes could not be higher. The defense of the Sierra Madre is now a global cause. China's strategy is a masterclass in gray zone tactics, coercion just below the threshold of war. Filipino fishermen and sailors face constant harassment, boats rammed, nets cut, lasers used to blind crews. The Chinese maritime militia swarms fishing grounds, denying access and livelihoods. For coastal communities, this is an economic and humanitarian crisis. Filipino Coast Guard and Navy personnel endure relentless provocation, risking escalation with every encounter. China's actions are calculated to exhaust and intimidate, hoping the Philippines will eventually yield. By avoiding open conflict, Beijing keeps the situation ambiguous, making a military response seem disproportionate. It's a psychological war of attrition, 1,000 small cuts, never a fatal blow. The goal to change the facts on the water without firing a shot. The Philippines' challenge is to resist without being provoked into escalation. China's aggression in the South China Sea is deliberate and escalating. What began as shadowing has become physical confrontation, ramming, water cannons, and floating barriers. The deployment of a 300-meter barrier at Scarborough Shoal was met with a daring Philippine response, cutting it down. China's island-building campaign has transformed reefs into militarized fortresses, shifting the strategic balance. These artificial islands now host runways, ports, and missiles, projecting Chinese power deep into Southeast Asia. In the air, Chinese jets dangerously intercept Philippine and allied aircraft, risking disaster. Each step is designed to intimidate, exclude, and test the world's resolve. These actions violate international law and threaten regional stability. The pattern is clear: escalate, intimidate, and hope the world looks away. But each incident brings the region closer to open conflict. In response to China's aggression, a new coalition of democracies is forming, led by the US, with Japan, Australia, and European powers. This alliance backs the Philippines with military, diplomatic, and economic support. Joint naval and air patrols in the South China Sea send a clear message of collective resolve. The presence of Allied warships deters Chinese aggression and raises the cost of miscalculation. Diplomatic support is just as strong. G7, EU, and others condemn China's actions and uphold the 2016 ruling. This isolates Beijing and validates Manila's position. Allies are also providing new patrol vessels, aircraft, and training to boost Philippine capabilities. The message: the Philippines is not alone. This alliance is a game-changer, shifting the balance in the region. The future of the Indo-Pacific will be defined by freedom and law, not coercion. The world stands with the Philippines in this defining struggle. The battle for Ayungin Shoal is now a global fight for the rule of law.